Okay, so we're gonna be reviewing, see, Chameleon's 116.9 on Sunny Beach, on Staten Island, Relap. Says here that his previous time was 118. Not that sure about that, but he does say that he wants to reach a 114. So let's just take a quick look, and see what we're dealing with here. So I'm gonna lower the audio real quick. There's some things I wanna note during the video. Let's see. Okay, that's good so far. All right. Okay. Okay, we're gonna take this part piece by piece, you know? We're gonna we're gonna go through each and every single lap to make sure we're not missing any data here. So first off, great start. I like how we hit 118 before this buoy. That's actually really good. Kept it. Here's the thing. You can build up to 126 kmh coming up to this turn. It's like the optimal speed you can get. It's not entirely worth it though. Okay. It's not entirely worth it because you have to turn, and the faster you go, the harder it is to turn. So it's actually good that you were going too fast in this section. Okay, this is the first thing that's gonna be like a very big game changer for you. Right here, you're going under the buoy, but you keep going straight. Now, what you need to learn how to do is right here, as you're already past the buoy, you need to shift directions. You need to pivot into going this way, closer to the wall to the left, instead of towards the buoy, because the buoy is always gonna be there. You know, unless you go to the right, you're not gonna miss it. So it's actually better for you to, you see this line, you can draw a line in between the palm tree, the wall, and this buoy, the wall and the buoy, the yellow buoy in the distance. You can draw a line based, like, starts from there and it reaches all the way up to Mariner's Head right here. That's barely above the water. So what you want to do is, like, you want to create like a straight line towards this side, because essentially the next part of the run is just like a very long straight. This is like a very long straight, right? So you want to try to get into a good angle to start this straight as soon as you can. So you can't actually aim for that dock like back here, but what you can aim for is, you see this pole right here that it's like showing, this wooden pole, that's the direction that you want to aim at. So when you're back here, like so, you want to pivot left, so that by the time you reach this wall, it's gonna look like you're heading towards that wooden pole, and eventually you get a feel for it, and you just, you know, kind of like do a better job at creating a good line for this straight. It's basically what it comes down to. So, okay, let's keep watching. Very good speed. This one. Now, this is a very, very good, like, I like the intention. So this is like a hard turn to pull off. I say that the reason why you missed the turn is because, well, like, why you bounced on the dock is because you're aiming for this edge, and this is not where you should be aiming at. Instead, I would encourage you to aim at this point. You see this middle spot between this, well, it doesn't actually render, that's it, that pink buoy and the edge of the dock. this is like the sweet spot of this turn. You want to be like here, right here, what this white line is, so that you can start your turn, you can pivot into, you can make a left, like back here, instead of having to clear the dock, so then you can actually make the turn happen, you know? By being a bit further away from the turn, it makes it so, because of the position that you're carrying, because you're coming straight, it takes a bit of time for Mariner to turn the jet ski because it's a big boy, you know. So that's enough time for you to like completely avoid the edge of the dock because it's not going anywhere near the jet ski in reality. The jet ski just takes a bit to get into the left direction, so it won't really bump into the dock. Instead, it would like curve around it. So that's kind of the motion what you're going for. But I like the intention because that's one of the best ways to go with the turn. And the reason why it's important that you don't go too close to the dock is because this happens. You're going wide, you know. So the intention that you're carrying into this turn is perfect. It's exactly what you need to be doing. But because you're going too close to the dock, you can't really make like a straight line in this direction. So this amount of time that you're like getting dragged away, you're like getting dragged away from the line that you were making, it's costing you a lot of time. Like this point right here. At this point, you should be aiming towards this direction, and instead look at where you're aiming. So by the time you're able to actually make the turn happen and actually like head this way, you're gonna be like over here, basically. Pretty sure you're gonna be like over there. So let's check that out to make sure that you're actually there. Yeah, that's the spot where you're gonna be able to turn. So in essence, the optimal way to go around this is to like the same way you're trying to get around the dock by being very, very risky about it is the exact same way you want to approach this next corner, you know. So it's good that you're getting close to it because you're avoiding the first this like the wave to your right when it comes to the cycle. But it gets a little bit trickier once you're going really fast. Now, this isn't completely necessary for 114. It's just something that can totally help you in the process of getting a 114. So good intentions, just a bit of a lack of good positioning. Okay, this is very important because this does make a big difference. That splashing has to go for a 114. So once you reach this part of the wave, I would encourage you to first of all stop B-tapping. Just stop it because you're gonna slam into the water if you miss a timing on a single B-tap. And furthermore, I would encourage you to kind of like try to pay attention to how the water looks when you're like kind of like rejoining the bob cycle, you know, because the thing is that a lot of people don't realize that bobs don't ever stop. They never stop in this game. So if right here, coming up, let's see. Okay, so here you turn, you're bobbing up, bobbing down. Doesn't look like you're bobbing down, but you are bobbing down, down again, up. You're gonna bob down once you hit this part, right? And that's gonna make you immediately go up. So what should happen here is that you should hit the water and immediately bounce back onto the surface of the water, like right here. It should actually like boost you a little bit forward towards the finish line. But because you're tapping too much, or yeah, I would argue it's because you're tapping too much, you slam into the water, and that actually holds your momentum. So this is holding you back. Like it's not a big deal that you don't get like a very clean exit out of this wave, but it is a very big deal if you splash that hard. That definitely takes a lot of momentum out of the run. The reason why is because this is a straight. So if you start this straight, like say somewhere around here, let's say here. So if let's actually, it's okay. So if you start with a 106, you know, it's logical. It takes time for you to get back to 120, at least 120. So ideally, you want to cross this finish line with about 115 kmh. That I think that's acceptable. Below that, it's just gonna hurt this next straight, and because this course is so long and there's so many straights in this course, you can't really afford that. You really need to, like, it feels like, I know it feels right now like it's kind of hard to tell when something's gonna work or not, but I would encourage you to actually hammer out the mechanics and try to understand why things are not going your way during these straights, because that's pretty much the course. That's the name of the course. The better you get at straights, the better your times will get in this course. So that's one thing. Like, this is one of the reasons why splashing that hard is detrimental to the run, especially in this section, because it takes a lot of time. Like, it's one thing to reach this red buoy starting with a 118 kmh. It's a whole nother thing to reach this buoy starting with a 106. Like, whole different story. So that's it. That's the first lap, right? All right. Now this is okay. Okay, it's a good call. Very good call. Same thing here. You can go a little bit more to the left. Okay, so this is, yeah. All right. Quick notes here, because that's pretty much the end of the run. So this straight, it's okay that you're not keeping 127, but I would encourage you to work on, like, try to get more, be more subtle about your adjustments, because there's an adjustment right here, right there. There was an adjustment right there that actually cost you a lot of speed, and that was just basically because you were a bit too drastic when it came to that one. Yeah, it was right there because you're like tapping down, like lower left, and because you're doing this while you're B tapping, it makes it so if you tap down any kind of direction involving down on the stick when you're on a down bob, it's going to bend you upwards, dude. So it's kind of like mimicking the you know, the jump mechanic that allows you to jump off of ramps and shit. So it's really important that you time your input so that you're not actually pushing the stick like down whenever you're hitting a down bob, because that can cause you this shit to happen when you're like bounced up and you lost a lot of speed because of it, because it doesn't look like it, but you're actually leaving the water for a bit. That's why you're dropping speed. So yeah, just a quick note on that. Try to work on this straight, but it's cool. It's a cool straight nonetheless. It's a very good call. I like this call. Like, going under this bull is really ballsy and it's really spot on. We reach this part again. Same as the first lap. Try to go a bit more to the left. Now, granted, there is some sand here, yeah, but the thing is that a lot of people don't realize you can actually make kind of like a straight towards this part of the sand and start pivoting into the left, start making the left by using lower angles, because same principle. If you're using lower angles, especially on down bobs and shit, the jet ski is gonna be bounced upwards just a bit because of, you know, gravity. So it's actually helpful in this situation because the water isn't actually that deep here. You know, it's kind of like mimicking the physics that you would get if you were to touch the sand, but not really. It's hard to explain, but it's way differently. It's way too different to use lower angles on a deep part of the tides, like over here, unlike using like over here over the sand. For some reason, this little bit of sand just makes it a bit more stable and actually allows you, like, it's hard to explain without being there, but you see these lines right here? These lines are forming. You can kind of like come straight into these lines, or like back here. You can come into straight into this ones, like coming from the left. And right about when you hit this point and these lines start forming, you can use those lines to kind of like ride them towards this side. So you're making this kind of motion when you're making this turn, you know? So instead of going center like you did in the first lap, second, like same thing as the first lap, try to go to the left, try to head towards this buoy now instead of over here. Try to aim for this buoy, and by the time you reach this part, then you're gonna use those lines, these lines right here, to actually carry you through the turn. Now, if you want, if you need like, if you want some clarification on how this works, I can actually record it, so you know how it works. I can show you how it works. So yeah, but that's the baseline for it. It's a base way to go about this. And the reason why is because you want to make a straight for this path. Now, the routing that we have for this course, and it's very, very strict if you want to get a 114. You need to follow this path, okay? You need to make a straight here. That way, once you reach this buoy, this red buoy, you can very slightly change directions into this part of the dock. Because, same principle, the water is so up there that you can actually ride all the way along, like on top of the sand, and not catch any sand whatsoever. So it's just quicker, you know. You get to this point, it's the same thing you're doing, but you're getting to this point faster, you know, because you're going straight forward instead of going around it. It's harder, but it's necessary for a 114. All right, good enough. I like that turn. I like the way you went about that turn. Really good turn. Okay, this is a very, very difficult part of the run. So there's no way to sugarcoat this. You just gotta man up and try, because you're gonna lose a lot of runs to this, and it's just a natural part of the process. It just takes a lot of practice and a lot of balls to just go for this, because it's necessary most of the times. At least until you get used to the pace of a 114. So good, good. Here's the problem. Right here, this very same down bob, this is the down bob that you need to use to start your turn. So once you bounce down, like once you come down this wave right here, try to aim for this spot, so that once you reach this point, you can make the turn immediately towards this direction. But think about that is the reason why that's tricky is because, for one, you never really know how high the water is going to be in this section, so you're kind of at the mercy of RNG to a certain extent. But at the same time, you same principle the first time. You want to be able to make this line as fast as you can, because this is a straight and you need to take full advantage of this straight. So that's one thing. In this turn, in all 3 laps, cut it closer. Take more risk in going closer to the wall, because that's definitely holding you back, like big time. It's actually a big game changer for SI. Make it, see, that way, if you do it the way I'm saying, it's not that awkward to reach that yellow buoy. Now this turn is tricky. There's not a lot of things I can tell you about this turn, honestly. The one thing that actually helped me was, I remember Fish once saying, like a long time ago, that the best advice he gave to people about this turn is to not turn too quickly. Like, take your patience and look for the right spot to start turning, because it's pretty common for runners to turn too soon when it comes to this turn. And to that, I would say that you actually almost got the timing right. You were patient enough. Now the thing is that you're going a bit too far away from this turn, you know? I would like to see you coming into this turn like over here, like right here. Up until this point, your positioning is spot on. This is exactly the position that you want to be in, but you don't want to be aiming towards the front. You want to be aiming towards over here, so that once you've hit this part of the turn, like over here, I would say over here, you're over here instead of, you know, far away from the sand. So this way you can like make a very quick, kind of like a U-turn motion. It's not really a U-turn. You just kind of like dashing the backside, like the tail of the jet ski through this turn, so that same motion that your jet ski is doing right now, you would do it closer to the sand, and that would get you to come out of this turn as soon as you possibly can, so that you get a faster way towards the finish line. But yeah, that's pretty much SI in a nutshell. So one thing, those are the things that I would actually encourage you to work on. Aside from that, it's actually pretty spot on. I like the decision making, I like your approach, I like the inputs, I like the intention. It's just work on the straights, take more risk when it comes to this first turn. This first turn, yeah, work on the straights, get riskier with these turns. Practice this pivot because this pivot is really important. It's not difficult, it's just important that you get it right. So try to practice this as much as you can until you get it right. It's not necessary for you to go so close to the wall that you might feel like you're gonna bump into it. It's not necessary, but you just gotta go closer to it, you know. I would say that if you take a look at the 6 on the timer right here, like right off, you can make like an imaginary line down here. As long as you're not to the right of this line, you're good. You know, you don't want to be insanely close to the wall, but at the same time, you want to be as close as you feel comfortable being. You know, basically. And aside from that, I think that's pretty much it. Honestly, it's not. There's not a lot of things you can pick up from this. I would say you're actually on the right path. Like, just by implementing the things that I'm saying and seeing how it works for you, I would argue you would pretty fairly quickly get down to like a 115 pace. And at that point, it's going to be easier for us to like spot what is it that you're doing that might be holding you back from the 114. But yeah, work on the straights, take more risk on the turns, and try to study the route so that you can follow the route because there's actually a lot of reasons why we have that route, and it's like the best way to go about this course. So yeah. Okay. So now we got that out of the way. That was Chameleon's Southern Island, 116.9. Pretty solid PB. So yeah, pretty good run. Not gonna lie, pretty good run. Okay, so over here, let's just